side, literally like we flip a fucking coin. All right, fuck it, we'll go.
That's right.
I mean, that's how tenuous this entire rest of the story plays out. Katz and I get on the C train. We get on the A train, but we don't get off at 125th. We wind up in Spanish Harlem. It's not a good scene. We got to switch trains. We got to go all the way up the steps. People that don't know the New York City subway system, you got to go up this. You can't just walk across a platform to get the train going in the other direction. You got to go back where you came from, up out of the streets, cross 155th and Lenox.
We look like a line of cocaine on a black album cover.
That's what we look like?
Yeah.
You could have picked us out on satellite photos. These two idiot white guys on 155th and Lenox. We stood out. We get on the train and we go back. We get to Yankee Stadium. We meet all the guys there. We get our tickets. Doc Gooden is pitching. It was the night of Doc Gooden's no-hitter. This is the most bizarre thing that happened. Katz is one of the strangest men you will ever meet. Aside from signing a fucking Dirk Nowitzki autograph to a felon only because he's in a headlock, instead of taking out his driver's license going, this is who I am, like fucking Mickey Rourke and Angel Heart, I know who I am. Katz is reading the New York Post the entire game. Now, here's what happens when you go to a baseball game if you're a huge baseball fan. The second the third out is recorded in the first inning and there's no hits, you always look at your buddy and as a joke you go, he's got a no-hitter going. It's like what we always do. It's for shits and giggles. Then the third inning you go, nah, still no hits. Then the fifth inning, your stomach starts to get a little tight. Sixth inning, you have a big fucking problem on your hands because you realize you're 3 innings away from watching an actual historic no-hitter. And Doc Gooden, do you remember who it was against?
I don't.
Seattle Mariners. Because you were reading the fucking newspaper during a no-hitter. It was against the Seattle Mariners when they had Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, Paul Sorrento. It was murderer's row. It's the 8th inning, and when Doc Gooden goes out to the mound in the 8th inning, he had already thrown, I think, 99, 100 pitches. So it was a question of, is he even going to go back out? Because his arm's going to fall off. So he goes out for the 8th inning, and the place, it's like the Christians versus the Lions going crazy, screaming. Everyone's standing at Yankee Stadium on this Tuesday, except for Bartholomew Katz, who's sitting down and for somehow has stretched the New York Post into a 2-hour reading achievement. He's playing fucking
Kind of like these podcasts.
He's playing Sudoku. And at one point he looks up and I go, unbelievable. Like I'm rabid. Unbelievable. It's not, and Barry, I swear to God, I'm not making this up, looks up at me and goes, he still has a fucking no-hitter going? And I go, he's got a no-hitter through 8 innings up, 8 innings down. And Katz goes, all he has to do, meanwhile, is look at the fucking giant scoreboard that's over everybody's head that you can't miss. When you fly into LaGuardia, you can see the scoreboard. And Katz is I'm his source of information. He really has a no-hitter. You're not bullshitting me. So the 9th inning, he's thrown 114 pitches. They let him go out in the 9th inning. The last batters he faced were Paul Sorrento, Jay Buhner, Ken Griffey Jr., and Edgar Martinez. And he got the no-hitter. They carried him up the field on his shoulders. The first time ever a Yankee has been carried up the field on somebody's shoulders, probably because Babe Ruth weighed 400 pounds and everybody else was 5'5", 125 back in the day. But the thing that's weird about that no-hitter is he walked 7 guys. It was the sloppiest bullshit no-hitter of all time.
I remember the 9th inning, he walked one of those guys, right?
He walked one of those guys. But, like, to have those guys be the last guys you face, Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr., someone's going to get a hit. He did it, and they carried him off, and we watched history. That's why I know my screen test for Picture Perfect was on a Tuesday, and that's what makes no-hitters the greatest thing to see in sports, because you don't bring any of the hype with you. It's a flip of a coin. Do you want to go? Fuck it, we'll go. If you go to the Super Bowl, you bring it with you. Oh, we're at the fucking Super Bowl, man. Yeah! If you go to the World Series, oh my God, we finally got in. Oh my God, the Red Sox. Goodness gracious, John, of all the dramatic things I've ever seen, Roger Clemens and John Steinbrenner's box. So, I get the part of Picture Perfect. I'm elated.
Which is a great analogy you just made, if you don't mind me taking 10 seconds. The no-hitter is an undeniable occurrence, equal to an actor going in and what they have to do to get the role. If you get that, yes, you can lose with a no-hitter 1 out of 1,000 times or 1 out of 100 times in a circumstance like you did. But if you're an actor and you're going out for a part, it's the same as the no-hitter. If you do that, you never have to worry about anybody else. But go on with what you're
It's an
saying.
historic thing for a guy to walk in off the street and with no movie credits, because Jerry Maguire wasn't on my resume yet because it wasn't finished. I got the part. We're on the set rehearsing for the first day. We have to go out to Queens where they do like Sesame Street and the Cosby Show. At the time, there was like one studio. Do you know the name of it?
It was something Cup Studio, Silver Cup.
Silver Cup.
But I have a different vision of what happened. I thought that you went right from Jerry Maguire.
Exactly like Gary Shandling, didn't he?
I thought you went right from Jerry Maguire, and the first scene that day that you had to do was a scene where you're making out with her, and you found out at Jerry Maguire 24 hours later, and you took Tom Cruise aside and asked his advice how you handled the kissing scene.
I did do that.
So that was the most pressurous thing, because you were going right from this thing.
I did. There was a 2-week overlap of the movies. There's a 2-week overlap where I did both movies at the same time, where I'd be on set doing Jerry Maguire in Culver City in studios in LA at Sony. And then I would get on a plane, fly to New York, and I would do like 3 days of Picture Perfect in Montclair, New Jersey on location, and then fly back to LA to do Tom Cruise's Jerry Maguire. And I knew when I had the part before I started, I asked Tom, I said, I got kissing scenes with this girl. Now, I don't know anything about Jennifer Aniston except she's on Friends at this point. I don't know whether she likes me or not. I assume she likes me because I got the part. And I said, we have to like make out. And I don't know how to do that. I know how to make out.
And he gave you great advice, because if I remember correctly, your main concern was, okay, should I kiss her? Should I use my tongue? Should I not use my tongue?
Yeah.
How do I do this?
Am I grabbing S? Are we ripping titties out on camera? Like, what are we doing, honey? You know what I mean? That's how I would do it. Hey, come on, Rachel, suck it. Good. Hey, let me see that famous haircut bobbing up and down in my lap. Ow! Here's your friend, honey. 2 bulls. Tom Cruise basically told me, whatever she does, match, but never raise. If she opens her mouth a little bit, open your mouth a little bit. If she sticks her tongue in your mouth, go ahead, man. Put your tongue in her mouth. Do it. If she starts grabbing your package, start ripping out titties, do your thing. I went, okay, good. That's all I needed to know. But in all fairness, I already knew that. I just wanted Tom Cruise to know that I'd booked another movie and that I was cool. I swear to God, the only reason I asked him.
The first time I knew that was right.
The only reason is like, hey, man, I booked this other man. It's crazy out there, and you're juggling 2 movies. You know what it's like. I swear to God, thinking that he would think, well, this guy's obviously a viable acting player out there, and I should keep him on my short list.
You should probably just briefly let people know, when you first got Jerry Maguire, you walked on set and you were standing next to Tom Cruise in the rehearsals, and he gave you some words of advice, because you were like, listen, I've never really done a film before. What?
Oh, that's right. We didn't even say that in the other podcast. He told me, just fake it. No one's going to know the difference. And if you fake it long enough, you're going to convince yourself you're doing the right thing, because you are doing the right thing. If you're faking it, you're doing what you want to be doing. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and he
basically said, child, you got to fake it till you make it, girl.
And he just said, and then he was really cool. He said, "Look,
we covered all this. We're coming to a
That's
crescendo."
okay, but you didn't tell that story.
Yes, you're right. But I got Matt Cohen here going, you're going on 2 hours again. So my first day of rehearsal, and I have to fly to New York to rehearse, which, like, nowadays, if you had a little clout, you'd go, I'm not fucking flying to New York to rehearse. That's bullshit. I'm working on a Tom Cruise movie. I'm a big shot. But then you're at the mercy and the whim of Fox Studios. I fly to New York to rehearse. I'm so excited. They pick me up in a van, which was like foreign to me, because on Jerry Maguire, you just drove yourself to set every day. You parked in a parking structure and you walk 6 miles across the lot to get to your little tiny trailer. All of a sudden, they're picking me up in a van. A Teamster is at the wheel. He's taking me across the East River over the Brooklyn Bridge at the Silver Cup Studios or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, this is the big time. When we get to this big, giant, empty soundstage, which is where they would build her apartment, and a few other scenes would be built on this soundstage. And I'm standing there, and it's me and Ileana Douglas, who had just broken up with Martin Scorsese. And me and Ileana hit it off immediately, and we later did Action together. And yes, we will talk about Action in subsequent podcasts. Keep hashtagging more stories and what you want us to talk about. We will get to it, hence, here we are. So me and Ileana Douglas are having a ball talking. We just met each other, started talking. It was just like we've known each other our whole lives. No big deal. Great. Jennifer Aniston and the director arrive at the same time. Jennifer Aniston and Glenn Gordon Caron arrive simultaneously in two very different moods. Jennifer Aniston walks in. She immediately has to go take a piss. So she walks through the soundstage to get to the toilet at the other end of it. And as she's walking towards us to walk past us, she's pointing to Ileana Douglas and she goes, 6 guys they screen test. 6! And she makes a 6 with her hands. 6! 6 guys they screen test. And then she points at me and goes, the one fucking guy I hate. That's the guy they hire. Him. And she keeps going to sit down to take a piss.
And which was
hopefully she took a burning, runny shit.
Which was
That's the first day after. That's my first rehearsal.
And which was the thing that was really hard for you, harder than that, was the fact normally you get a notification from your manager or your agent. They know information. Hey, she's upset about this. She's angry that they didn't do this. No. We didn't have any of that information. So
the wheels are up. The jet's going.
Because if you had the information, you would have been at least prepared. Look, you would have gone up to her. Look, I know you wanted the other people. I'm sorry. I
would have wrote her a little note saying, I hope I don't let you down. You're the best.
Yeah, but you didn't have the information.
I just thought I was the fucking bee's knees. I'm the berries, man. Obviously, she's on board. I got the part. I beat out all these guys that are stars. I beat out her boyfriend. I must have done so good that she said, you know what? I don't even want my boyfriend to have this part. I want that kid who's a club comic to star in a Fox motion picture.
It's the equivalent of Jim Buss hiring Mike Brown without telling Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of...
Similar, yeah. You know what? I would have loved to have trashed you right there, but you did make a very good point.
1 out of 2.
So, right behind her, so she walks in, 6 guys, they screen test. The one fucking guy I hate. And she says that right as she goes past me, so her finger's like a foot from my face. That's the fucking guy they hire. Him! And over her shoulder, as she goes into the bathroom, she goes, ah! Right as she goes in, it's like a French farce. It's like an episode of fucking Hee Haw. It's like the Carol Burnett show. She leaves. Glenn Gordon Caron walks in through the same door and he goes, I discovered somebody. You know how rare it is to discover somebody? They wanted to hire somebody else. I'm never going to tell you who. And he comes over and he puts me his hand on my back. He's hitting me on the back. He goes, they wanted somebody. I fought for you. You're my guy. I discovered somebody. Oh my God. This, you know how exciting this is? And he goes through a door to take a piss next to where she's pissing. They are taking 2 completely different pisses. One person standing up happy. The other one is sitting down pissed off. She comes back out and she goes, 6. I'm not kidding you. Now she's like unpacking her like purse and she's getting her shit ready. And now you got to keep in mind, we are probably 3 minutes, maybe 180 seconds away from going action and having to act like we like each other. 6 guys they screen test. The one fucking guy I hate, that's who they hire. So this went on the entire day. And she's muttering under her breath during the entire rehearsal. And she would pull Ileana Douglas aside and they would be whispering about stuff. But every once in a while, they'd both look over at me and Ileana Douglas would look at me like, I don't know what to do.
Did she ever give you some inside stuff that you didn't know 10 years later or 5 years later or whatever it was?
No, I would say what I just said to her and she'd go, yeah, she was not happy. And Ileana Douglas, I don't believe, was a particular fan of the antics that were happening. So we're doing this scene where Jennifer Aniston and me are slow dancing in front of her boss, and she's convinced everybody that I'm her fiance. And now's the big scene where she doesn't know if I'm going to go along with it or not. and I become the world's nicest guy. I fall on the sword for her and her company. And I do this long, slow dance, and I tell her how beautiful she looks. And we do this night. We had to learn how to waltz. And we do this beautiful dance.